What's up today, guys? This isn't a normal video, as you can see. I've kind of I didn't get bored of Dark Souls, but I definitely did realize how repetitive it was, and to make a build would just eventually got too hard to do. And then I got really into D&D, found out about D&D Beyond, Foundry VTT, similar to Roll20, but in my opinion better. Uh, and I got really into making builds in D&D that were by raw viable. So you won't see any homebrew or any unofficial content really in my videos because you can really just make whatever you want in D&D as long as your DM says so. Uh, but I really enjoy making stuff within the rules as fun as possible and as viable as possible while still retaining its how fun you can how fun it can be. And today, this character concept will be a wrestler. Really, uh, I've been experimenting with the ideas and with my character and the backstory I made for him. He isn't going to be the most optimal because I'm pretty sure there is a race out there with 4 arms that can grapple 4 people, but this is just a normal human. Or you could pick the Goliath, which can technically grapple large creatures. Uh, this character cannot, since it's just a normal human. They aren't considered a large build, so they can't grapple large creatures. But the first level you want to pick is Barbarian. And I have a sheet right here that tells me what I do for this build. And what I chose, of course, for my race. Let's go to race real quick. I chose Strength and Constitution for the ability score. Your skills, I chose Stealth, and there is a reason for that later. And I'll explain it. And my feat, of course, first feat for a variant human is Grappler. If you're not a variant human that doesn't get a feat right away, you can always just get it for your first ASI/feat level up, which is at level 4 for most characters. Proficiencies, if I remember correctly, which I don't, I chose at level 1 Intimidation and Athletics because you're gonna you definitely want to be able to grapple people right away, and athletics really helps you roll better for grappling. The next level you'll want, if your ability score is at least 13 in strength, you're gonna be able to choose Fighter, which allows you to level up to level 3 next from level 1 in Barbarian to choose the fighting style, which is at level 1. So at level 1 you get the fighting style, unarmed combat. So at level 2 you'll be able to use your fist, which allows you to have a 1d8 for your fist damage. And at the start of your turns, when a creature is grappled, you get a free 1d4 damage. Makes grappling viable at level 2 right away. If you start at level 1, you just kind of you're gonna have to trek through that level 1 using your fists that only do your strength modifier damage. Then at level 2, you get your axe and surge. Everyone loves that. And at level 3, you're able to choose the Battle Master feature, which artisan tool, whatever you want. That's up to your character's creation. This is also whatever you want, but I chose the 3 best things I had. The trip attack allows you to get an enemy prone right after an attack if they fail. You want the grappling attack, which as a bonus action after you throw an attack, you can grapple them, because grappling normally does not do damage, but with that, you grapple and do damage. And then your last one, if I remember correctly, I got the pushing attack, which allows you to push a creature, basically getting them as far away from your teammates as possible. Of course, you're the grappler. You're shutting down at least 1 to 2 enemies from the fight if you can grapple them, and then you're able to still do a lot of damage to them. With your maneuvers, they come from your combat superiority, which has at the start 4 dice. You have 4 dice as with the start of your combat superiority, which are d8s. Once you use one with a maneuver, let's say I do a grappling strike. So immediately after you hit a creature with a melee attack, you can spend a once superior die and then try to grapple a target as a bonus action. You add the superior dice roll to your normal roll, which is a 1d20 for your grappling strength athletics check plus your athletics, and then you add the d8, whatever you roll for the d8, to that roll. And if the enemy doesn't get higher than your roll, if they get equal to it, they still pass. But if they don't get equal or higher than it, then you successfully grappled your opponent, which means their speed becomes 0. That's the main features. They cannot move away from you, and you can drag them anywhere to edges. You can just beat them up. And if you combine that with the trip attack eventually after your next turn, or if you have multi-attacks, you can hit the creature, expend a superior die. You add the superior die to your damage roll, so that isn't wasted on your grapple where it just adds to your strength roll. This actually is added to your damage overall. If the target is larger or smaller, it must make a safe strength saving throw, which is based on your maneuver save DC, which is 8 plus your proficiency. So level 1, it's going to be 10 already, plus your strength or dex modifier. My strength right away is 13, so they need to pass a 13 DC save, which is pretty hard. Pretty easy right away. I'm not going to lie. At higher levels, your proficiency raises up to a level 20 at 6. So right now at level 20, it'll be 17, but that's still a long ways away. A better way to trip your opponent is to shove them. The shove maneuver is a attack maneuver you can do during one of your attacks. If you have extra attack, you can do it multiple times, or grapple and then shove, or shove and then grapple. And shoving is basically the same thing as the grapple right here. It's a strength athletics check. If your shove strength athletics checks is higher than theirs, when they make a roll, then they are successfully prone. And when an enemy is prone, you have advantage to attack them, which basically gives you pretty much a guaranteed hit with your fist. You might miss once in a blue moon, but you will just hit them. And if you grapple them while on the ground, then they can't move. They have disadvantage on almost every attack against you while you have advantage. It's really good. Okay, now let's switch to higher levels. I think the next level I went is level 3 and then 6 in Barbarian. So we're going to go level 3 in Barbarian. This allows us to get Rage. Oh, no, Rage is level 1, my bad. Reckless Attack, which already, the Reckless Attack gives you advantage on attacks. If you just say it before you attack to your DM, you get advantage, basically. But on your next turn, not on next turn, after your turn, attack rolls against you have advantage. So it's good when you're not already grappling a prone enemy, but it's really good to get an enemy prone, because you don't want to be missing your superiority die attacks. Danger Sense gives you advantage on dexterity saving throws, which is always nice. And for the path you're going to pick, I've experimented a little bit with each pact, but I think Berserker is what I went with, only because of a certain level you get at higher, certain perk you get at higher levels. So let's go to 6 right now, because that's what I went next. For my Frenzy is something you probably won't be using much. Not only does it give you a level of exhaustion, but if your DM rules something later on, you won't need to use that bonus action to make a melee attack with your fist, because I'll explain that later, of course. And then your feat. The first feat you want to get, at least the feat I got, you could choose multiple things. You could choose Skill Expert to get Athletics Expertise, which doubles your proficiency, which means your rolls are going to be more successful. But what I chose was the Mobile feat. If I can find it, it's in the M's. The Mobile feat which your speed increases by 10, so you're able to charge at the person you want to grapple faster. When you dash, difficult terrain doesn't affect your movement, so if an enemy is guarded by difficult terrain, you can clearly get to them. And the last one, when you make a melee attack against a creature, you do not provoke opportunity attacks from the creature for the rest of the turn. Say there's a mage in the back, and he's guarded by, like, let's say 3 goblins. And let's say you have 1 extra attack. You make 2 attacks with your action to hit to 2 goblins. And then the 3rd attack for your bonus action, if your DM rules your fists are now dual-wielding weapons, because in Raw it's not, but it's very easy to explain why you can. Then again, this build is not meant to be Raw, so technically you cannot throw your fist as a bonus action for an attack, but you can on other weapons like 2 daggers or 2 swords, but you can't do it with 2 fists. It's really weird. And if you hit all 3 of them and then run away from them, because if in D&D, opportunity attacks are done when an enemy is exiting your attack range after entering it. So if I enter a goblin's range of 5 feet and then I move out of its range for 5 feet in the same turn, and just in general, then they will be able to get a free reaction attack against me. But if you were to hit them first, whether you hit or not, you can move out of their range, which is really good. And then at level 5, so this will be level 8 technically, plus a 3 in Fighter, 5 in Barbarian. And this build it's a slow start. But from like level, I want to say 8 to 12, this build is online. Level 5, you also get a speed increase of 10. So your speed is now 50, by the way. And then at 6 is what you wanted. When you're raging, you can't be charmed or frightened while raging. This basically makes you not be able to be controlled in any way. Charmed and frightened is one of the 2 worst effects you can get on yourself. And as a barbarian, you're very susceptible to get one of those 2. Next levels, you will want to get... Oh, that's the wrong button. You didn't see that. The next levels you want to get is 6 in Fighter is now what you want to get. 6 in Fighter allows you to get a couple new things. And another ASI, which if I remember correctly, I think it was the skilled. Yes. This allows you to grapple much easier. So this is level 9. You want to get the skilled expert, which allows you to specialize in 1 skill, which I think it's this one. Yes, you want to choose athletics. And for the new skill you get, I don't remember what I chose actually. Skilled expert, I did not specify, but if I remember correctly, just by looking at everything here, it must have been persuasion. I'm pretty sure, yes, that must have been persuasion. I don't see anything else that would help my build. So we're going to go with that. And then ability score increase, I chose wisdom. And the reason for that, because I had a leftover point in wisdom. And it was 11. And 12 is when you get your modifier for +1. So that's what I did. It also helps not being mind controlled if I'm not raging, which gives me that extra chance. And there's other things that are deadly, like being held, like hold person. So anything that helps even just a little as a barbarian not to be held in place or trapped in some way is always great. For level 6, I chose, let's take a look at that. I chose the tough feat because as a barbarian, in the middle, grappling 2 opponents, and probably in the middle of, let's say, 5 opponents, you're gonna need some health. And this increases your HP by 2 every level. It's just an extra thing that will basically let you live. At level 20, you'll have 40 extra HP, which is a lot. That's almost a breath attack from a dragon, which could save your life, definitely. The next levels you're going to get, I think, was 2 more levels in Barbarian. Yes, it is. And as you can see, you got the feat Mage Slayer in this level. But let's see what other things we get first. So the first thing you get is level 7 is Feral Instinct, which allows you to hone your combat and get initiative advantages. So you'll be going first a lot more. Maybe not first, but you'll be going sooner into the initiative a lot sooner. That made no sense, but you understand what I'm saying. And for this feat, this was actually a feat I had left over. I didn't know what to get. You could get just an ASI and improve your strength to hit harder. You could get better wisdom or constitution. You don't really need charisma unless you're going more of a charismatic build for this, which you definitely can. Two stats I would say you don't need is intelligence and dexterity. You're not looking to have a high armor class. You're looking to tank hits and shut down opponents, which gives them disadvantage. So it'll be a lot easier for you to do things without being hit, and you'll have so much health it won't matter. But I specifically chose the Mage Slayer because as a barbarian, you might be thinking, a barbarian that grapples opponents, that if I grapple the mage, it'll be good for me, right? No. uh, there are some touch spells out there that are an instant hit. There are some very dangerous spells that at close range that would really hurt you and probably instantly kill you if you had low HP. So what Mage Slayer does is allows you to use a reaction if a creature in melee distance casts a spell, which is helped you kill the mage faster. When you damage a creature that's concentrating on a spell, the creature has disadvantage on the saving throw, which if a mage is buffed, it will help them become unbuffed a lot sooner with certain spells that require concentration. And you have advantage on the saving throws against spells cast by a creature within 5 feet of you, helping you just dodge. The dexterity saving throw is already a thing for you, but there's other spells like charisma saving throws, wisdom, just many other stuff that would help you survive if they're not a superly OP mage. This basically helps you live against mages at close range that keep casting Disintegrate or Finger of Death, which are both dexterity saving throws, admittedly, but there's other stuff like Hold Person at close range that would definitely hurt you. The next levels you'll be experimenting are level 7 in Fighter now, and level 8 in Fighter, and level 10 in Fighter. Okay, so just the rest of the levels will be in Fighter. And you might think, but Barbarians get a 1d12 in a health every level up, right? Yes, but no. As you know, all dice are random. You're probably never going to roll a 12 for your health. So it really doesn't matter that much, but let's go 7 right away. See what we get. You get more maneuvers, of course. And for the maneuvers I chose, let's see, evasion. Okay, yes, the two of my favorite. Disarming attack. Basically, when you make an attack, you can spend a superiority die to disarm the target. You add the superiority die to your damage attack roll, so it adds to damage, and then the target must make a strength saving throw from your maneuver DC. This allows you to, this probably at this level be around, the DC probably be around 15, maybe a little lower. This would be over exaggerating the DC at that level, but it's probably pretty close. And the next one will be your Evasive Footwork, which you just roll a superiority die. Whatever you roll on that superiority die, you add it to your AC while you're moving. So this allows you to just, say I roll, let's say an average of 4 to my AC right now. My AC will probably be 13. So my AC is now 17. And this allows you to just run past enemies with a better chance of not getting hit by their attacks. You'll be provoking opportunity attack. Yes, but then you'll still have your attacks ready for the person you're going after, unlike mobile feat, which you have to throw your attacks as you go. Just allows you to have allows you to save your attacks if you need to shut someone down immediately, like a mage or a really strong opponent that has a long range that will attack your mages. The next you'll be increasing. Let's just go to level 10 right away. See what's there. More maneuvers. Okay. For my maneuvers, I got Commanding Presence and Riposte. Okay. Commanding Presence just adds to your charisma stuff. It's really nice for the later in game when you need to pass some maybe some charisma saves, or not saves but checks, like intimidation, which you're already really good at, your performance, which you'll probably never use, and your persuasion, which is something you'll be using later on, which you'll be decent at, but it's always nice to have another roll for it. And then riposte. This is also helping you do damage. When your creature misses you with a melee attack, you can use your reaction to expend one superior die to make a melee attack against the creature. If you hit, you add the superior die to the damage roll. So this is really good. It's just finishing enemies off faster. Just more damage, more damage. You'll be doing a lot of damage. At this level, you're at level 18, by the way. You're level, well, technically, yeah, you're level 18 right now. For now, most of the fighters' new perks past the level of 3 is just ASIs and extra attacks. The higher levels, like 7, you get this really good, Know Your Enemy. The reason I chose a sneak still is to complement this Know Your Enemy. And if you're observing an enemy in any way, whether you're sneaking, you're friendly, and you just want to know something, you can basically learn one of these stats from the enemy. Every minute you'll be able to learn a new stat. And it's very useful for 2 things. Judging if you can grapple this dude with strength score. You want to know their strength score. And the most important thing, knowing if you can even take on this thing, which will be your current HP points. If your DM ever tells you, if you ever ask for the current hit points and the hit points are like 4 times yours, don't even bother. You'll get a party wipe. Like, there are some situations at higher level where hit points don't even matter at that point. But at low levels, just if you want to find out whether you can take something on, and you have the chance to observe them for a minute, ask for their current HP. It will save you a bunch of. That's what my character would do. He can fight this goblin. Let's assume you're fighting the Orc King or something like that at level 3. Just think clear. Just be smart. A level 12 and a level 8. Well, level 8 right now. Level 8, you just want Constitution. This will increase your AC and increase your HP. At level 9, you get Indomitable, which allows you to re-roll a saving throw that you fail. So, with most mages now, you're going to be able to roll 3 times for your saving throw. 2 times with advantage, and the 3rd time you can re-roll something if you fail. You can use this feature again to your long rest. And you can use this feature twice at level 13, which you will not be getting to. So, you have 1 reroll with this. You can, I guess, be level 13 if you get rid of this Mage Slayer. That's up to you. This build is trying to be as optimal as possible with something I would use in combat. Improve combat superiority. So this improves your D10, by the way. Your D8 superiority die to a D10. At 18 to be a D12, but you're not getting there. This makes your average roll 1 higher, a 5, but of course it's always random. You might roll a 10 one day. You might roll a 1 still, even with this improved die. And for the last 2 levels, you're going to be putting them into fighter again, and it's nothing special, I'm sorry to say. You are just getting another increase in Constitution, allowing you to be +5 in Constitution with an average of 263 HP, or most likely, if you do rolled dice, you're always going to be a little bit higher than your average. It's just, it seems to me everything I've made, every build I made is always above average. You could be unlucky one day and have below average. Just ask your DM if you can have the below average HP. If it's like some reason you have 196 HP and you're supposed to have 263. But yeah. Total possible HP, as you can see, is 356. That would be insane to have that. I would love that, but you know, I'm not gonna roll a D12 8 times and then 12 D10s in a row. It's really good. Now we'll move on to the starter abilities I chose. I do point by. It's just the best. It's the best for making builds. No one argues over it, and you can't cheat with it. Unlike manual rolls, which when I DM, I always do point by because I realize how desperate people are to get high points in everything. You get a 16, 18, 18, 18, 16, 15 kind of stuff going on, and that's just not fun to make a build when you're good at everything. I start off with 15 because for humans you get a +1, dexterity 10, constitution 15 because your racial bonus I think you get a +1 too, which means it's 16 right away. So that's a +3 right away to constitution and strength. Intelligence I chose 10. I don't like negatives in most of my builds. Wisdom I had a leftover point, so I chose 11, and that's why in skill expert it'll be 12, which gives it a +1. In charisma I chose 10 because this build will be using a little bit of like intimidation, charisma saving throws, or persuasion. This is the only stat I can see you knock down to 8 and then improve another stat. I guess charisma would be your best thing to improve. You have a +1 in charisma. Or you could go to 13 here, which means this wisdom would be a +2 with skilled expert. But I chose to have an average across the board, or at least with dexterity and intelligence. And technically, if you were to do this, you would have another AC point. So my AC at the level I am currently now would be 16, because +5 for Barbarian is your base 10 +5 is 15, plus dexterity would be 16, to my knowledge. I'm pretty sure I got that right. Which is pretty high. 16 is a high AC, I admit. At level 20, it's probably not the highest, but it's definitely high. At your base level, if you do this at level 3, let's just assume you're level 3, your AC would be 14, which is decent too. It's decent. Background, I chose for my skill proficiencies. It's a custom background, yes. And it's 1 tools, 1 language, and 2 proficiencies, deception and insight. Cooking utensils, language goblin. That's something that you customize yourself. You really shouldn't even tell you about it because it doesn't matter which way. For my starting equipment, I really just didn't go any weapons. I asked for javelins instead. And here's the build overall on the character sheet. You got your final build will be 3 in strength, 5 in constitution, and 1 in wisdom. Your modifiers for your skills, let's go to saving throws first, will be 9 in strength and 11 in constitution, while +1 in wisdom. Not only that, but you'll have advantage against dex saving throws, and while you're not blinded, deafened, or incapacitated, and against spells that are 5 feet of you that have a saving throw. You have advantage on initiative as well. So, say I rolled twice, I rolled a 12. Okay, that's pretty good. But what if I got something better, like a 15? So now I'll be going a little bit sooner in the combat initiative. Then you also got your skills. You are now skilled expert in athletics, which is a +15. You have deception as a +6, only because at level 20 you have proficiency +6. So as you level up higher, you'll get better at deception, insight, intimidation, persuasion, and stealth. The only thing that's going to be really high in the beginning is probably going to be strength. Strength. Then deception, insight, intimidation, and persuasion are pretty good. You'll probably use some in your with your build, but your build's mostly a fighter. That is it's a, what do you call it? A CC fighter. You're here to control the field and take out some enemies from the fight. With your unarmed fighting style, you have 2 things to appear. If you're using something in one hand, like a shield, your damage is a 1d6. So you can increase your AC a little higher if you're holding a shield. But with no shield, it's a 1d8. It's really nice. Really, the lower dice option is probably overall better to be holding a shield and still rolling a 1d6. But your potential for damage up here is always going to be higher. It's going to be rarer. It's probably not going to happen for most of the fight to roll a 7 or an 8. but potential will be higher. Let's see. Will I roll anything higher? No, so I rolled a 6 for damage on that. Let's see what I roll for this. I rolled a 5. The difference in those two is that in this turn, in this round of combat, if I was holding a shield, I'd be at 17 AC, which is pretty dang high. So, roll again. See your average. I got 6. I got 9 damage. I roll this one. I only got 7 damage. It's really not much difference between these two. The only difference is, do I want to potentially have more damage, 2 more damage, or do I want to be holding a shield and have some kind of defense? This also makes it harder to grapple 2 opponents, I just realized. With this one, you have 2 free hands. With this one, you do not. You have 1 free hand. So, again, even though I was already doing it, I'm going to stick with the 1d8, in my opinion. At level 20, you also have 3 attacks. You'll be doing a lot of things at once. You can grapple, you can trip, and you can push in all in the same turn while attacking. So you'll be doing damage while doing those 3 things. It's pretty good. Let's look at your equipment. The only thing, I do varied encumbrance, by the way. I always do it on all my characters, only because I find that the most fun for me. I do have a self rule in my games where the armor you wear is half weight instead of full weight, because it just makes you be able to carry a little bit more. But that's just, we're not talking about it here. My home games, we're talking about a build. I carry around 5 javelins with me at all points in case I am not able to reach my enemy unless I need to dash. But if I can still attack them if I have javelins and I can't reach my enemy. You can only attack technically once with a javelin, even if you have 3 attacks. Because the way the free action works, if most people don't know this, and probably will ignore it, so don't worry about it, you can only bring out, basically do 1 free action a turn, which means your free action for taking out a javelin, which is, free action to take out a weapon, a different weapon, or put away a weapon, or drop a weapon. That is a free action, which you only get 1 per turn. You don't get to do multiple things at once with a free action. It's not how it's meant to be done. You can't just switch weapons in the middle of the combat every time you attack, unless you're already holding them, or you have a special perk like dual wield, which allows you to take 2 free weapons out, or the throwing a weapon combat style, I think what it is, which allows you to, as an attack, take out a throwing weapon. So if I had that, I could take out as many as I could potentially throw, which is 3. Which is a great thing to have. But on this character, it does not. It does on one of my other characters. That's the only reason I'm mentioning it. You can only take out and throw with 1 javelin, because you're not able to take out a javelin every time you throw. That's just too much for this game to handle, and I understand why. It would be OP if any creature could just be like, yeah, I just take out all my weapons out of my book bag while I'm in the middle of combat. The rest is just, utility, water, I have to carry, backpack, bedroll, utility. Most games won't even need to use for a backpack, a water skin. They don't keep track of your food. I do not either. I do it for role-playing sake. The things you would probably want to do after your action, which is, unarmed fighting style, grappling pin, which comes from a grappling feat. I should probably talk about that real quick. The grappling pin allows you to, after grappling an opponent, to basically grapple them even more and restrain them, and it restrains you. The problem with this, a restrained condition, let's just take a look at it. Your speed becomes 0, which grappling already does. Your attack rolls against the creature have advantage, and the creature's attack rolls have disadvantage. Basically means anyone that's not grappled by you has advantage on attacking you now, and anyone you are grappling has disadvantage. But here's the thing. If you're grappling an enemy, you have advantage on attacks already. So you can hit the enemy with an advantage. But if you restrain them, you have disadvantage and advantage, which cancels out, by the way. So you can't, if you have double the advantage and a single disadvantage, it doesn't matter. Now you both have nothing. No advantage and no disadvantage. If you restrain a creature, you both have a normal attack roll now against each other with no advantage or disadvantage. And the worst thing is the creature has disadvantage on dexterity saving throws. This would destroy you in a fight, especially against a mage. You do not want to restrain a creature. The way to get this with nothing but the benefits is to have them grappled and prone, but you're not prone when you grapple a prone creature. And what prone does, a prone creature, this doesn't apply to you now that you're grappling a prone creature. Only movement option is to crawl unless it stands up and therefore enters its condition. You're grappling it. It can't move. It doesn't matter. That doesn't matter. The creature has disadvantage on attack rolls against me because I'm grappling it. An attack roll against a creature has advantage if the attacker is in 5 feet of the creature, otherwise the attack roll has disadvantage. Since you're grappling it, you already have disadvantage with your grappling feat, so this doesn't matter. Uh, but it's always nice to have the enemy prone. And the reason you have the grappler feat to gain advantage on on enemies' attack rolls while grappling. The thing is, you won't always be tripping them. You might fail. You only have 4 superiority dice, so you can't do that more than 4 times at lower levels, 5 at higher levels. And the next thing we're gonna go on to is, of course, superiority dice. You have 5d5, but no one cares about that. Your bonus actions. Rage gives you advantage on strength checks and saving throws, and adds +2 to your damage. So if you're raging, which you only have 4 of, at lower levels you might have 1 or 2 or 3, you will have advantage on strength athletics. So that gives you a huge advantage over anyone. You're always going to be rolling high, especially at higher levels. 35. No one's gonna pass a 35 ever. And nat 20s already. Nat 20s are only a automatic hit on attacks. Just because you got a nat 20 doesn't mean you succeed automatically. You might be facing a dragon who has a plus. Let's say they have a plus 36 for some reason, and they're basically a god. Even if I rolled a nat 20 plus 15, they have 36. They still technically beat me. Some DMs rule nat 20s as an automatic everything. An automatic pass on saving throws and everything. Even though on saving throws, technically, a nat 20 is not an automatic pass. If you ever watched the end of Critical Role, there's some rolls out there, DCs that are like 24, and they didn't pass it even if they rolled a nat 20, because I think Rog had a +1 in Wisdom, rolled a nat 20, still doesn't pass. It's technically impossible, unless they have something like freedom of movement. The next thing you want to be your reactions to Mage Slayer. They cast a spell in front of you, just beat their ass. In this one, you spend a superiority die to hit them on reaction if they miss a melee attack. It's a melee attack. Others, you have Action Surge, which allows you to take another whole action again, which at level 20, as an example, it's 3 attacks. So you get 6 attacks in 1 turn. And if you got the bonus action, if your DM allows it, that's 7 attacks. Extra attacks, 3 more extra attacks. Fighting style, Indomitable. This helps you reroll saves. It's very useful in a pinch. Know your enemy. You already talked about that. Already talked about the maneuvers. Limited uses. You got, of course, die Rage. Let's get away from all that. Anything else you should need to know? I guess some of your feats. Grappler. What it does is you have advantage on attack rolls against creatures you're grappling. You can use your action to pin a creature, though this is the one you're never going to use. It will screw you over. You just talked about mobile, so I'm pretty sure it's fresh in your mind. This is the one that helps you prevent opportunity attacks. Tough increases your HP by a whole 40 at level 20. It's 2 HP per level, basically. And this is how you get double proficiency in athletics. That's pretty much the build. I can't think of anything else to ask. I do have a ask your DM, can you dual wield fist? If your DM should say yes, it's not really a hard thing. But if no, don't get mad about it. It's only 1 attack. You're not going to be completely nerfed or anything. It helps early game, late game, it doesn't matter. And just ask your DM how they would rule grappling a prone target. By raw standards, by raw D&D, grappling a prone target does not make you prone. But a DM might be confused about that and say you're prone too. Just try to talk to them how in raw you will not be prone grappling a prone target. But they might be mistaken, and it does make sense to be prone while grappling a prone target. I do get that. But that's not how it's written, as rules is written. And that's pretty much it. I'll just show you an average turn. You're going to be attacking with one attacking. You hit. Let's just say you hit everything. I'm not going to roll attacks. And I don't like how D&D Beyond. I like using Foundry. I can roll 3 hits right away. This I have to wait till it rolls, and it's terrible. 9. Let's say 5. So that's 14 damage this turn. And see, you roll 7 sometimes. You never know. 7, 8 sometimes. That's 24 damage in total. But say you wanted to, in this turn, also grapple and trip. So let's do a trip maneuver, which is, if I remember correctly, add superior die to your damage. So let's add a 1d10 to her roll. And let's just say they automatically fail. So they take 2 extra damage, so 26. And the grappling, they have to contest against a athletic save, which they would most likely fail no matter what. 21, I don't think even a fire giant. A fire giant has a plus 11 in their save. So if they roll a d20 plus 11 to this, plus 11, they would not pass. They have only a 20. And that's a fire giant. They're like one of the strongest creatures out there, besides like top tier dragons and other top tier creatures. So even stuff like a fire giant would not be able to resist being grappled by you. But I think fire giants are large creatures, so you technically cannot grapple them. This is D&D though. Maybe at higher levels, your DM will rule you can grapple large creatures now, because why not? You know how fun that is to try to grapple a dragon's neck or something like that. But that's all by raw. You can't do that. Sorry, unless you are a barbarian, not a barbarian, a Goliath, which can grapple large creatures because they are a big build. It's really confusing, but you know how it is, D&D. And I want to thank y'all for watching. There will definitely be more builds to come. I have a couple builds I'm really excited to show. This is definitely one of my favorites, but I literally just made a new character for one of my other for one of my games I play in instead of a NPC I made. And it's definitely nice. But I want to thank y'all for watching, and I'll see y'all next time.